Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim, Ruach Dash. All praises, honor, glory, love, respect, faith, and power, and trust, and all credit to my Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and my Heavenly Big Brother, Yahweh Shah. Thank you so much for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. Double honors to your apostles and elders and bishops of GMS, great millstone who I learned from, and all the men scattered all over the world, teaching His truth. Ooh, gas. Teaching His truth and nothing but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Bashim Shah, trying to put a spiritual bug in you Hebrew Israelites' ears, you so-called Blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Simple Indians, and you speckled birds. And what is a speckled bird? That be a Hebrew Israelite that look like some of the heathen nations. Like, for example, a Hebrew Israelite that look like a so-called white person, or so-called Chinese person, or so-called Indian person, etc., etc. I'm going to play these videos. It's about oil and the lack of oil and lower prices of diesel, fuel, all that going up. And I haven't watched none of these videos, so I don't know what to expect, what they're going to say. But I just seeing all the titles and everything's on the thumbnail. It's like, okay, and energy. Yeah, because, you know, oil is energy too. Gas, diesel, all that stuff. So I figured to go put all these videos together and make this video, and Lord willing is edify and informing. And I'm going to play these videos. I'm going to get into the script of my best ability, say whatever I got to say through the Spirit and power. Yahweh by Shema Shah, the Holy Spirit of Krahak Dash. Lord willing be on me. Let's get it.
Shifting focus to some other stories from around the world. Now, Europe and much of Asia are battling record-breaking heat waves. But policymakers and energy markets are already focused on a much bigger concern, the coming winter. The war in Iran and continued supply disruptions in the Gulf have slowed the recovery of global natural gas supplies, leaving many import-dependent countries unable to refill their gas storage ahead of the peak heating season. Analysts warn that strong winter demand combined with limited LNG availability could trigger another wave of sharp energy price increases. According to Wood Mackenzie, favorable weather earlier this year created a sense of false security. But the current supply outlook points to a difficult winter for gas importing nations. The biggest challenge is the shortage of LNG cargoes. Qatar, one of the world's 3 largest LNG exporters, suffered significant damage to its export infrastructure early in the conflict, with full restoration not expected until late 2027. At the same time, disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz have slowed the movement of available LNG shipments. Iran, which is...
The analyst warns energy shocks could last 2 to 3 winters. Yeah, we're gonna have a rough winter. I hope so. Shit, fuck this damn world, man.
The world's 3rd largest gas...
Fuck you proud ass people. Boy, winter is coming for energy markets.
...producer in the world is also seeing natural gas production...
But hey, you wanna pray let heaven, Lord, have mercy on you and give you strength to endure.
...plummet by 230 million cubic meters.
And then this video is like 5 days old, so I mean, it's still. Hold on, what is this? What is this? Oh, it's something. Oh yeah, it's about the cars melting and shit. Let me go ahead and say this. But yeah, man, it's still relevant. And you know what? Another thing too. Might as well add this in, cause you're talking about energy and power and such. Yeah, let me add this in too. They're talking about Cuba. Did I think I already got that video. Yeah, I already got that video. Let's go ahead and throw that down. What is this? Enter food crisis. Da 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 da. Okay, America's fuel squeeze. Yeah, I forgot to throw that in too. I need to throw that in as well too. Let me see where I need to put this. Let's put this right. Chill. And put this one. Now it's more about fuel. Let's get this one and put this. What was it? America's fuel squeeze from gas prices and mortgage rates. You know what? I'm gonna keep that separate. I'm gonna put that in something like financial shit. Anyway, let's continue moving or going.
Well, the impact is already visible in prices. Over the past week, European spot natural gas prices surged nearly 26%, while US gas prices remained relatively stable. European benchmark gas prices are now more than 7 times higher than US prices and over 50% above their June lows, highlighting the growing supply imbalance. Europe's gas storage remains only slightly above 50% of the capacity in late July, well below the level needed to comfortably prepare for winter. Wood Mackenzie estimates that even under its best case scenario, storage may reach only 75% by November, far short of the 90% target. That means Europe may have to pay higher prices to secure LNG cargoes, effectively diverting supplies away from lower income importers such as Bangladesh and Pakistan, where gas shortages are already leading to power disruptions. Analysts also warn that if supplies tighten further, some European countries may have to consider gas rationing, with Qatari
the peasants. The peasants are going to be gas rationing, energy rationing, food rationing, water rationing, all kind of rationing. Meanwhile, the elite going to be living it up, while you people go out here killing each other.
LNG exports expected to
for resources
remain constrained for years. The current supply shock could extend well beyond the winter.
Bye, next video. This was supposed to be first. 6 days ago. I tried to do a time like going through which one goes first, which is the oldest video, but whatever.
The global energy market is entering another period of heightened uncertainty.
Now, while our diplomatic efforts have temporarily eased direct tensions between US and Iran, threats to key oil shipping routes still remain far from over. Refined fuel inventories are tightening, diesel exports from Russia have been curbed, and analysts warn that any further disruption could actually send oil prices sharply higher. Here's a closer look as to why the global energy markets are on edge despite signs of easing tensions.
The global oil market is facing mounting pressure as conflicts spread across some of the world's most critical energy corridors. While the US and Iran have paused direct attacks and diplomatic efforts are underway to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, uncertainty remains over the future of one of the world's busiest oil transit routes. At the same time, Iran-backed Houthi rebels continue to threaten shipping through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, another vital passage linking the Red Sea to global markets. Analysts warn that if disruptions occur across both choke points simultaneously, global energy supplies could face severe constraints. With tensions also persisting in the Black Sea, the risk of a broader supply shock is rising.
Ultimately, the costs will be passed on to consumers. One of the key things to note about the Bab el-Mandeb blockage is we also see a lot of diesel, flow out through there. So diesel is used for all sort of industrial processes. So
to haul all your heavy, all your shit on boats. Yep, and then on trains. And when they make it to their destination from boats, they be on trains or semis. Let's just say it like that.
The cost of manufacturing, so the cost of finished goods to the consumer is going to rise.
Yeah, and then plus power plants. That diesel, they need that for running power plants. Either they going, power plants either use diesel or they use natural gas. But most likely, I believe diesel could runs cooler.
Beyond crude oil, refined fuel markets are showing even greater signs of stress. Ukraine's attacks on Russian oil infrastructure.
Say 4.4, 1.4. All praise Yahweh Shema Shah to Wadi Yahweh Shema Shah. See, 144 or 441.
Have reduced Russia's refining capacity, prompting Moscow to curb diesel exports to protect domestic supplies. According to Rystad Energy, global commercial and strategic crude inventories stood at roughly 4.4 billion barrels at the start of the Iran conflict, compared with only about 1.4 billion barrels of refined fuels such as gasoline, diesel and jet fuel. Since then, both crude and fuel inventories have declined by around 200 million barrels each. With a much smaller buffer for refined products, gasoline crack spreads in the US have surged from around $8 per barrel at the start of the conflict to between $40 and $50. The widening conflict leaves policymakers with limited options to contain another energy price spike. Emergency oil reserves have already been heavily drawn down. US refiners are operating near peak capacity, and measures such as waiving the Jones Act have already been used to improve domestic fuel distribution. Market analysts warn that if both the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait face prolonged disruptions, Brent crude could revisit levels near $124 per barrel, last seen during the recent conflict peak. With geopolitical risks now stretching from the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea, Black Sea and even the Caspian Sea, energy markets are increasingly vulnerable to further supply disruptions and renewed price volatility. Business Bureau.
See, diesel went up. Gas really... And the gas station I normally go to, gas didn't really go up at all, but it was like it been 270 something for a minute. But shit, That diesel from one gas station says 540 down the street, not even that far away. Murphy USA selling their diesel at 520. But then soon they're gonna go up to 540 because competition down the street. Yeah, you know, they selling it up that high. So yeah, I don't know, man, if they gonna drop it down, but whatever.
We on World is One.
Speaking of power plants, you know, electricity, I was talking about that earlier. How they use diesel to run their power plants.
Cuba's aging national grid
Cuba, shit, ain't got shit.
has collapsed. 10 million people plunged into darkness. It is the fourth nationwide blackout in 5 weeks. Hospitals are running on emergency systems. Water treatment has stopped, and the government has no timeline for when the lights come back. The grid didn't fail overnight. It has been failing for years.
Plunge 10 million into darkness. While you Israelites gonna be start eating each other down there. Man, if you heard the names of Yahweh Shema Rashah, you better hope and pray the Lord have mercy on you. Cause all them niggas that be calling on Jesus Christo, they gonna be killing each other. They gonna be blessing Jesus Christ for giving them a human leg to eat.
Cuba has been plunged into a nationwide blackout after the country's electricity grid collapsed, leaving almost
They gonna be saying, God bless Jesus Christ for giving us a rat to eat for dinner. Shit.
10 million people without power and deepening an energy crisis that has intensified in recent months. The state-run electricity operator, Unión Eléctrica, announced late on August 2nd that the national grid had failed, but gave no immediate explanation for the collapse or a timeline for restoring electricity. The latest outage follows 3 nationwide blackouts in July, highlighting the growing strain on Cuba's aging power system. Authorities are attempting to restore electricity by first creating isolated power networks to supply hospitals, water treatment facilities, and food production centers before reconnecting larger generating plants. Cuba's electricity system has deteriorated after years of aging infrastructure, repeated breakdowns at thermoelectric plants, and chronic shortages of fuel and replacement parts. The government says the crisis has been made significantly worse by United States sanctions and restrictions on fuel supplies.
I'm more like, well, that, but also the prayers of the Lord. And the more y'all niggas be eating pork and calling on Jesus Christ, the more the Lord gonna whoop your ass.
Cuba lost a major source of oil after Washington imposed an oil blockade earlier this year, while fuel imports from Venezuela and Mexico have also been disrupted. Before the nationwide failure, Havana's electricity company had already reported widespread outages caused by damaged transformers, circuit failures, and insufficient generating capacity. Residents across multiple municipalities had lodged dozens of unresolved complaints as rolling blackouts became increasingly common. Havana resident Daimel Rodriguez said he had grown accustomed to sleeping without electricity and that the situation had become unbearable, adding that his only wish was to leave the country.
The problem with the national electric system going out is that people are exhausted. They can't take it anymore. This is unbearable. What can I say? I can't say anything more. This is unbearable. I don't know if the national electric system even exists, my friend. I've gotten used to sleeping without electricity.
The prolonged electricity shortages have disrupted transport, communications, water supplies, healthcare services, and food distribution. The Cuban government argues that severe US sanctions and restrictions on access to fuel.
Oh, this nigga got his hands in this shit too.
Financing and equipment are driving the crisis. Authorities have also approved the country's first foreign-backed fuel import venture.
Hey man, what happened to all that talk about Cuba gonna attack America? I don't know. They were talking hell a lot about it like last month or 2 months ago. Anyway.
And authorized nearly 200 Cuban businesses to participate in wholesale fuel distribution in an effort to improve supplies. Al Jazeera wrote that authorities typically attempt to recover from a total collapse by creating small isolated power networks to supply hospitals, water systems, and food facilities before gradually reconnecting larger generating plants.
I bet you they're using that gas or whatever little gas they had to watch that damn game. What was it, the soccer game? That shit, what that shit called? That, what that World Cup shit? FIFA. I don't give a fuck about no but that's the real football, but I don't give a fuck about it. Anyway, I ain't gonna play no more of this. Move on to the next video. Yeah, but blackouts are coming, especially in first world nations. Shit, these first world nations becoming third world countries soon. America.
Angus beef cattle.
I don't know if you heard me, but I'm talking about America.
Just hanging out under the shade trees. There's about 50 of them in this herd.
The Angus breed, I don't think ever came to this country until about the 1870s or so, 1880s.
Yeah. Sledge Taylor's grandfather brought
Goddamn devils, fucking naggers.
them here to this northwest corner of Mississippi back around 1900. These days, Taylor is sure thankfully has them. There's good money on those hooves.
Yeah, they stole all that land. They probably stole all the generation of different cows. Yeah.
Taylor owns 6,000 acres here. The farm sits...
He holding on to 6,000 acres that his grandpappy's, his grandpappy, great-grandpappy's, and his great-great-grandpappy stolen. Shit.
just outside.
Yeah, man. This land probably was owned. Well, I don't know if it was owned by Native Indians, but let's just say it was owned. But yeah. Anyway, I'll just let it go. I'm just gonna let it go. Let me stop talking.
The small town of Como, Mississippi, about 40 miles south of Memphis, Tennessee. The fire department, city hall, and the 2 restaurants are all on Main Street. Como is a farming community. Just about everyone here works the fields or tends the cattle.
You know who everyone works the field? Who's working that field? They ain't showing who's working that field. They just showing the cows, but they ain't showing that who's working that field. You know who's working that field. Shit.
Even with good prices on
and I bet you that same field he working on, he stole that shit from us.
Beef.
Fucking niggers.
Running the farm is far outpacing what Sledge is making.
You know, since COVID, I mean, our prices for fertilizer, tractor parts, I mean, you name whatever we buy, steel, since COVID, I don't know if people took advantage of this thing, I don't know, but everybody raised their prices, I mean, 15, 20% a year.
There's virtually nothing, Sledge says, that's gone down in price.
We've got insurance costs on that pickup truck, and we've got liability insurance.
Man, this thing looks like it got ticks on here.
One of these things.
I don't know.
Hurt somebody or whatever. So I mean, it's just.
Hey, they're running off on us.
Yeah,
There they go.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why they decided to go all of a sudden.
There they go.
Maybe I tell you what. I think they're thirsty. They're probably going to the water trough. Damn.
Wow, they're running.
Yeah.
You'd think tracking down a herd of 50 cows would be easy.
Well, now we got to go hunt down some cows.
Yeah. They left the shade. They left the salt trough, the mineral trough. Now we got to find them.
As we drove through the grazing land, Sledge talked about how the last few years have been the most difficult in his 53 years on the farm. From droughts to tariffs to the war with Iran.
Really? That bad?
Anybody that's producing anything in this country right now is up against, it doesn't matter if you're producing widgets or cattle or corn or cotton, we're faced with incredible cost in this country, and we're competing with countries that don't have, as great a cost. I bought 2,000 gallons of diesel for the farm. I got the bill, and it was like $9,500. And I had to look at it twice, and I said, wait a minute, I just...
That's the double take. It's like, what?
Yeah, and...
$9,500.
That's about double what Sledge paid for diesel a year ago.
But right now, I'm just buying it a little bit at a time because I'm hoping the price goes down, but I can't buy a whole lot of fuel at this price.
Eventually, we found the herd, giving us that, what are you guys looking at stare?
Come on.
Sledge's bird call, the only way I can describe it, coaxes the herd into another pasture.
Somewhere along the line, family farmers tell us something's got to give. They can't survive losing money year after year and carrying debt from one year to the next. Mark, this is spectacular. I mean, look at this. And how many acres do you have out here?
We farm about 3,000 acres.
Yeah, some more acres of stolen land. 3,000 acres of stolen land. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of stolen land that's going to be destroyed by nuclear destruction.
Keeps me busy.
You think?
Yeah.
Mark Nolan.
Yeah, it keeps you busy. I know he got workers on deck that's out there doing some shit, doing some field work.
His farm sits in the Mississippi River Delta. No more than a mile away, the Mississippi winds its way south towards the Gulf of Mexico. Mark's been farming for 15 years, taking over the day-to-day operations from his in-laws.
Let's look down. We're starting to get some flowers. Starting to flower a little bit.
Flower.
Yep, look at that little pod right there.
Oh, look at that.
That'll be filling out over the next
wow.
couple months.
It was good early on, like Sledge Taylor, drought, tariffs, and the Iran war have beaten him up.
We use about 120 pounds of nitrogen to the acre, and 30, 40, 50% spike in prices is pretty painful. And it definitely compresses our margins, what margins there are. I mean, most of the past couple of years have been negative to start with.
You're losing money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How do you keep going and stay in business if you're losing money?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. You know, there's a lot of sunk costs in farming. And I know people who have gotten out. My neighbor got out about 3 or 4 years ago, and he's renting out his land. And so, but you know, it's in our blood. You know, we want to do this. This is what we know how to do.
Yeah, we pretty much, you know, Israelites taught your ass how to do all this shit, and now you don't want us to do the same shit y'all doing.
And we absolutely love it.
Mark has 2 crops planted this year.
Taught you how to do this shit, and you stole our land. Now you don't want us to do any of this. Anyway, I can't help my fucking self. I can't help it.
Soybeans and cotton. The cotton is just now coming up. He's hoping for an early fall harvest of 2,500 bales.
You know, it could head to China, India, Pakistan.
Got it.
It's heading overseas, and then most of the time, all of that cotton is coming back, you know, in some way or another.
That next cotton shirt you buy may have come from Mark's farm.
So how many acres do you have out here? This is soybeans, right?
Yep, this is soybeans. So this particular field, it's about a 350-acre block.
Wow.
But we farm, this year we'll have about 2,000 acres of soybeans and 1,000 acres of cotton.
That's a lot of acres.
Yeah, it keeps you busy.
The soybeans will go overseas too. China was a huge player until the tariff wars. Now, according to government agriculture officials, China is starting to buy again.
We've lost, you know, China is one of our big buyers, and they're slowly stepping back in, but, you know, we need them to be buying 30 million metric tons of soybeans, and they're, you know.
All right, anyway, but we haven't talking about some damn diesel. But fertilizer's price, anyway. Hard times, anyway. Who fucking who? Let me see. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 11. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before. So ancient Egypt was hit with plagues. This modern day Egypt, America, is getting hit with more plagues than the ancient Egypt. And will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that God Yahweh shall bring upon it. So plague's gonna be hitting America, Babylon, the foreign lands for lack of fertilizer and even diesel, not to even use diesel. The lack of diesel, or if the diesel's still there, it's gonna be expensive for people to run their farm equipment to gather whatever the harvest is, if there is any harvest. Yeah, it's gonna be a whole lot of problems. Let me finish where I left off at. And it's gonna build up famine for a lot of people, for a lot of proud, hungry people. Where we at? Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation shall be smitten with plague and punishment that God Yahweh shall bring upon it. They that till the ground, shall mourn. Talking about farmers, for their seed shall fail through the blasting of hail from natural disasters and anything else, and with fearful consolation. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Yep. That was not my words. Those are the words of Yahweh Shema Washah. Yep.
Tile Survive has to be one of the most relaxing and comfortable.
For nearly a century, the United States has been the most dominant military force in the world, allowing them to bend the global economy to their will. But like every empire before it, the military grip will eventually fade. The moment it does, the global economy will bend around the next superpower waiting in the wings. If they're not, today's Middle East conflict will fade.
No. When America goes, that's it. No more other superpowers on it. No heathens ruling. None of that dumb shit. They'll say China or Russia. No, none of that shit. It's going to be you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Semitic Indians, and specklebirds, whoever look like the heathens, but they're not heathens, they're Israelites. They just look like the heathens. But then they're all going to be transformed. But it's not going to be all of Israel. No, because a lot of the Israelites going to get destroyed and killed. But I'm talking about the elect of Israel. Man, that's a lot for me to say. But it has to be said. But it ain't going to be... it's going to be an elect of Israel that's going to be ruling this world. Anyway, let me get back to the video.
In the history. But if they are, we could be witnessing the start of a fundamentally different geopolitical order. In today's episode, we're joined by Doomberg as he explains why we won't be seeing $150 oil and why he believes the oil market is telling a very different story than the headline.
So how the fuck you talking? What the hell this nigga talking about? Well, we go to 150. I guess it's gonna skip 150 and get to 200 then, right?
Tune in.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. How you all doing today?
I'm your host, Daryl Thomas, and today we have the pleasure of interviewing Doomberg. Doomberg, glad to have you back.
Daryl, the legend. I mean, how could I say no?
Yes, we're going on a number of years. We've been having these conversations, so always happy to be here with you. So I want to start off. Obviously, we went through this whole MOU situation with Iran. We had a ceasefire for a little bit of time. It's been back on, and then now there's a talk that's happening between the U.S. and Iran. Some people are saying like we still haven't seen the dire consequences of this Strait of Hormuz still being closed. Want to get your thoughts? How doomed are we? Are we doomed at all?
Yeah, look, first of all, great to be back with you. All kidding aside, it's been fun. You know, we kind of started down this content journey together. I remember when I was one of your first guests, I think, and said and wrote it. But as the weeks and months have gone by, I think it's pretty undeniable. And lo and behold, you know, Trump does Trump things. Late last week, builds up this sort of psych op about how there's going to be a massive attack, and this time he really means it, only to call the whole thing off after the markets close on Friday. And the leaks, you know, presumably approved by Trump, are that the reason why Trump can't pull the trigger, like all the neocons in Washington have been pounding the table for him to do, is that the U.S. is just exposed in the Middle East. And I think the precision targeting with which Iran has been able to really debasify the U.S. in the Middle East. And so back to the Wall Street Journal this morning, they wrote an editorial in like disbelief that this could possibly be true, and why would leakers do this, and this is harming the U.S. I mean, this is widely known for months. We're a very small team with no contacts into the U.S. intelligence community, at least none that we know of, and this was apparent to us 8 months ago. How could it be that the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal finds this surprising? It's really baffling. And so when we sit here and we're like, no wonder, like when we write certain things, people think it's controversial or foreign or inconsistent with what they're being fed on Fox News or, you know, the New York Times or Washington Post, Wall Street Journal or Financial Times. Like, there's a reality out there. There's an information flow that people just aren't tapping into. And I guess we do this for a living. And so our objective is to try to understand what's going on. It's long been apparent to us that there's a limit to what Trump can do, assuming he has semblance of rationality left in him. And so then to your question about the markets, you know, we're seeing people's head explode on Twitter, pulling their hair out, as our friend JJ would say, because there was
So do you think oil has...
Trying to skip something. That could oil prices move lower?
Lower?
If peace breaks out and the new reality is...
But there won't be no peace. It's time for war. Matter of fact... Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1. After I read 1, I'm going to skip down to 5. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace. Actually, no. I'm going to start off with, I already read 1. Just start off 1 and work my way all the way down to 8. Might as well. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, which America is born. It was a time for America to be born. And soon it's going to be a time for America to die. And a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up, which is planting. And the harvesting. A time to kill. There's going to be a lot of that. When all hell break loose in this bitch. And a time to heal, which there ain't no healing here in America. There ain't no healing in Babylon. In Babylon, there ain't no daggone bun. What do you call it? Bum? Yeah, some healing agent, something. Cream, gel, honey, whatever. There ain't nothing to heal Babylon. No. Anyway, a time to break down, which that's down. America's being broken down. And a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. And you know, this ain't about just America. This is global shit too. Because you know, the lack of fuel and such. And diesel, energy and all this. This is all global related. But let's just say, instead of America, just say this whole wicked world ruled by, you know, Esau, even so-called white man. But he ain't white. He's raising his baby dick sucking, foreskin eating Jewish faggot nigger named Amalek. Yeah. His world's coming to an end. Esau, Amalek world is coming to an end. And the Lord ain't about to save it, ain't about to build it up. He's going to break it down. Anyway, where I left off at. A time to laugh, and there ain't no time to laughing. Shoot, it's time of mourning. A time to dance. Where I left off at. Oh, a time to build up, and a time to weep, and a time to... I skipped some of this stuff. Let me get back to 3. A time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. When it ain't no building, because the Lord is about to bring it down. What they say? The Esau said that I'm going to build up in desolate places, and the Lord said He's going to, roughly paraphrasing, the Lord going to throw down. Pretty much He going to kick the block of rocks, or block of bricks and shit, or the bricks. Like you know, you have somebody who's building up bricks, a little baby making brick towers or a brick building, and here comes the Lord kicking it all down. Little baby Esau trying to build up a city with his bricks, and then there's a bunch of wicked ass. It's just wicked, and the Lord said, "I'm gonna tear this shit down," and that's what He does. Anyway, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to gather up, time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep. Which a time to lose, I mean America's going to lose. Yep. Time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silent, famine of the word, and a time to speak, which is now, a time to love, which that's now there, and a time of hate, which that's happening, and a time of war, which that's happening, and a time of peace, which that ain't happening. There ain't no love and no peace here. Not when Esau ruled the world, the wicked. Only when the righteous are here, then it'll be peace and love. But anyway, let me get back to the video, because it's definitely that time of hate and war. What you gonna do? Better seek the Lord.
Which is
How about Shemal Shah?
Big if. You know, there's a few other players involved, not the least of which one who's in the White House as we're recording this. I speak, of course, of the Prime Minister of Israel. Who knows? But look, Iran outperformed. Like they just did. And like we've often said, you know, one of the reasons you don't start wars is they're hard to get out of and you might lose them. And I think there's a developing consensus amongst clear-minded people that this was indeed the catastrophe that it appeared to be early on, that we had hesitantly pointed out. Look, we take no joy in this outcome. It is a profound setback for U.S. global power, for American prestige. It's going to have significant ramifications. And that's in the best case scenario where reality is recognized and, you know, Iran's terms are kind of listened to. If it goes the other way, well, I think we end up in the same place with just far more destruction, economic pain, and loss of life between here and there. It does seem like the president is trapped, a trap of his own making, to be perfectly clear. But it's been painfully obvious. Again, if we had this back in October, I mean, why was Zelensky begging for air defense missiles last year? Mm-hmm. Why was the U.S.
And he's doing it again. And why? Because ammo. Well, Zelensky is an Amalekite, but King Rat, or the Rat minister, the prime minister Rat over there in Israel, he got deals first. He's like, give them to me. I need them for myself. Yeah. He want them damn missiles. All they gonna do is piss over them. Gonna shoot them at civilians. Oh no, that was the missile defense, but they'll turn the defense missiles into daggone offense missiles. Shit.
Repositioning Patriot systems and
they'll try to shoot them at the damn civilians.
Interceptor missiles and all that jazz. Why was it pulling THAAD missile systems out of...
And they ain't doing no damn good. I don't even know why they need them so bad. They ain't doing shit diddly squat to whatever they throwing at, because all they doing is depleting more of their missiles. It's just retarded. Just give it up. But these devils ain't gonna give it up. Hell no.
Korea in the first 10 days of this war, if we were sitting on an infinite supply of them and it wasn't a consideration, this truly just a remarkable turn of events.
Yeah. So you said a setback for U.S. global power. Do you think this could be a blueprint for other nations that may not be on the best of terms with the U.S.?
All right. As soon as the ad came up, let's go to the next one.
Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back. This is I Allegedly.
How about as soon as that shit jumped to a next chapter or whatever, I didn't know it was gonna go straight to a commercial, but yeah, perfect timing.
I've got a good one for you today because we have a very, very, very serious warning from the CEO of Shell Oil that we're going to talk about. Like, subscribe, For those of you new, we do business and finance news every day here at iAllegedly, and sometimes there's very serious warnings, and today is one of those days. Wal Sawan is the CEO of Shell Oil, and he's not just warning you and I, he's warning governments that we're going to have not just an oil shortage, but a diesel fuel shortage, and this is going to be catastrophic for our economy and for each of our lives right away. And this is not something that could happen, this is happening right now. Everything in our lives is delivered basically by a diesel truck. Construction supplies, food, electronics, medicine, everything, clothes, everything. He sat down and he talked about that there's so much going on throughout the world right now with wars on multiple fronts that this cannot be ignored anymore. We have to accept the fact that we're going to run into a fuel problem. And this is something that if you accept this and you understand this, you're going to be okay, and it's going to affect all of our lives. Prices are going to shoot up. You need to stock up on food right now. You need to make sure that your car is gassed up all the time, and I'm going to cover all this right now. Once again, the multiple war fronts is something that is a problem. The Middle East has been a problem that's not going to go away anytime soon. Let's face it, guys. Whether you're for it, you're against it. I want to make sure that the world is safe. I want to make sure that children are safe. They can go to this park if they want to play here and have a good time and laugh and just use their imagination and play sports, swim, just have a good time. The problem with it is that we are living in such a difficult time right now that you don't want to think about war, you don't want to think about drafts, you don't want to think about anything that could potentially, go on if this gets extended. But when you've got one of the 4 largest oil companies on the planet Earth telling people, this is bad, you need to listen to this. Refineries are already running extremely hard. There's problems throughout the country. I keep getting warnings sent to me about Hoover Dam because I live in California. And Hoover Dam supplies a lot of electricity to Vegas and some of the western states. The problem that you have is that because the dam is so low right now, that you're seeing things at a record pace slow down. And right now, as I film this video, there's no more tourism at Hoover Dam. Why is that? Well, they're saying if this thing gets to a certain level, it's not going to be able to produce any electricity. That's one problem. Now, when you go and you combine it with things like the diesel problem, this is getting worse and worse and worse. Right now, diesel is almost $5.50 a gallon in the good areas, in the inexpensive areas. It is at an all-time high, and as we just ended July, you're going to see it in August, we're going to be at an all-time price. Everything is going to go up right now, guys. Everything. Every single thing in your life. Diesel affects everything you buy. Everything on every single store shelf is going to go up. I am blown away at what things cost right now. I am blown away that I went to a discount restaurant that my friend invited me to. Hey, we've got the $20 lunch menu. I'm like, wow, what do you get for $20? You get a burger and fries, you get a Cobb salad. Everything is so expensive, and it's going to go through the roof right now. Everything that you have in your home. One thing that I've told people about is the pharmaceuticals. If you have anything that you take on a regular basis, find out if you can get it early. Talk to your insurance company. Can I get a 1-month supply? I'm just concerned about having it. Most of them, regardless of the expense, will make an exception and let you have that. I've never had anybody say, nope, my insurance company said absolutely not. Now, if you have some wild narcotic or some cancer drug that is, $24,000 a month, there could be exceptions to that rule. And I lived through that with my late girlfriend, so I understand all that. But the idea with it is most of the time they're going to let you do this. My brother is a really good consumer. He's a really good shopper, but he used to drive a natural gas car, which I used to make fun of him and call it the propane car, which used to just send him through the roof, talking about like, hey, do you get to barbecue in the back? And it would just drive him crazy. But when he drove the propane car, the natural gas car, he would basically top it off every day he drove the car, because there was a fueling station with the city right down the street from his house, and he would top it off. Now that car got into an accident, and thank God he survived that. But point was that now that he has a regular car, his whole thing is, if it's half a tank, consider yourself empty right now. You've got to fill your tank. I know a lot of people, and I've lived this way. Okay, $10 of gas, how far that's going to get me? Ooh, the light's on again. I am telling you guys, make sure you have gas. Make sure you can get to work. Make sure that you can You can get around, but do yourself a favor. If you can top that car off, your children, your wives, your friends, elderly people around you that drive that may not do this very often, do it now. Do it now, do it now, do it now. If you're going to travel, airline tickets are through the roof right now. They absolutely are. But if you can go out and you can buy your ticket early, I would do that now as well, because jet fuel, gasoline, heating oil, and diesel are going to go through the roof right now.
Oh, winter coming, heating oil.
It's going to happen. These are the 4 things. I found some great tools for you with news stories about this, and I found a fuel tracking site that you can talks about shortages. And originally, this idea originated in the UK, where they call it petrol, where we call it gasoline here. But check this out. The links will be in below, but you have to take this seriously, because we talked about motor oil for your car being in short supply, and it is slowing down. It's not out everywhere, but it's definitely slowing down. Now, talking to people at the auto parts store originally, no, not a problem. And then when I went back in there for new wiper blades, hey, remember the thing you talked about a few weeks ago? Yeah, we've noticed it. They're not shipping. They're going to ship in 10 days. They're going to ship in 2 weeks. Can't get everything. We don't have everything completely stocked up. We have to go through the store and move inventory to the front. In other words, you make it look like you have full inventory when you sure don't. A world without diesel fuel would be catastrophic. Farmers depend on diesel. You're going to see higher prices on everything that we deal with. Tractors, combines, irrigation pumps, and crop transportation all require diesel fuel. Trucking companies have no choice. The largest expense for trucking companies at one point was labor. Now it's fuel costs again, and it's forcing people out of business. One thing that we have done over the last 2 years is talk tremendous amounts of fuel companies that are going out of business. Want to do yourself a favor? Look at FreightWaves magazine. As exciting as that is, that talks about the logistics and getting things from here to there, and the expensiveness. And these companies that are 100 years old that are going out of business at a record pace because they cannot get the gas. They cannot afford to charge you $100 when a load costs $125 to get it from A to B. When do you say no to this stuff? Emergency services depend on diesel. Your fire trucks, your ambulances, your generators, utility crews, municipal fleets rely heavily on diesel fuel. Uh-oh. Okay? Get ready for this, guys. Get ready for this. Construction slows when diesel slows down. Home Depot will raise their prices. Lowe's and every other hardware store or any other lumber store that you go to will do the same. This will make everything go through the roof. Paint, varnish, everything. Electronics, electrical supplies, all rely on this. This is just, I heard a warning about this, and I heard somebody talking about this, and as I researched it, I got more and more, this is really wild. And when you've got Wal Sawan saying...
All right, let's get to the next one.
Yet the markets are not telling you about that, because of course this is also AI algorithmically manipulated data that's being fed to the masses, while reality is very, very quickly going to catch up with us. And the answer to the question of how serious is this is multiple people who are actually paying attention to this saying, no, we're actually at catastrophic levels. This is the most serious situation that the modern world has ever been in, actually. So it's very much time for people to be taking this very seriously and preparing themselves accordingly. What is it that they need to do? Well, someone who's been tracking all of this is Chris Martenson. His expertise is actually energy, a very, very intelligent individual, incredibly well articulated on these matters. And so he's going to be joining us today to discuss exactly what is going on, what the headlines aren't actually telling you, and what it is that people need to do to prepare. And if I can just say something from the outset, which is also echoed at the end of this conversation, by the way, it's if you aren't taking this seriously and doing everything you can to hedge yourself now, it's time to start immediately. It's time to start immediately, and this is not, trying to scare people. This is very much about telling people the truth. We are in a serious crisis. The reality is going to catch up with us, and our ability to thrive through this is going to depend on us, number one, being incredibly informed, and number two, being as prepared as we possibly can along with the people around us. So Chris Martenson is joining us in just a moment after a quick word from the sponsor of this show.
Goodness gracious, what the fuck?
that essentially are creating, I guess, an impression in people's minds that we're doing just fine. We have enough oil. We have enough petroleum, or whatever the case may be. It's just creating a narrative that simply is not the case. Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, it's this is something we saw during COVID too, right? Where suddenly we lost what's a vaccine, what's herd immunity, and whenever I see official agencies begin to blur terms that used to be solid and understood, I understand that they're doing that on purpose. They're not doing that because it's helpful in any way, shape, or form. So everybody's heard this. The United States is a net energy exporter, which is true. But what's energy, right? So in this case, they've lumped every single thing that comes out of the ground that you can set on fire into one bucket, and they call it petroleum, right? And so when I was growing up, petroleum and oil were synonyms. Now petroleum apparently means anything that includes crude oil, the black stuff, that gets refined into up to 2,000 separate products. But it could include all these natural gas liquids, which are things like propane, butane, ethane. Tasty things, they're awesome, but they're not swappable, right? It's not like I can just decide that I'm going to put butane in my car instead of diesel, right? So that's the thing. It'd be like if I said, hey, let's add up all the food you have on your property, and I go, well, I got the food in my fridge, but termites can eat wood, so let's add the wood up too, and we'll just put it all in one big bucket. Wow, look at all the food I have. Food becomes a useless distinction term at that point in time. It loses meaning. So what do we really care about? We care about crude oil, because that's the stuff that we refine into diesel, jet fuel, gasoline, a bunch of other products. Those are the pillars of our industrial economy, because it requires things moving constantly. So when we look at that, the United States is still a net importer of crude oil. We just are. About 2.5 million barrels a day is what we have to import in order to square the balance on our economic needs here in the United States.
And the sort of story that people are being told regarding Venezuela and the US now having what it needs, getting so much out of Venezuela, you've basically dismantled that entire narrative. Could you explain for our viewers why that's simply not the case?
Sure, Venezuela's a big country. They have two major deposits there. One is fairly conventional oil, the Merey deposit, M-E-R-E-Y, and it's a big field, and it's got typical things you would see on an oil field. You got straws going in the ground, drilling rigs, derricks and producing wells and all of that. It's thick, it's heavy, it comes out. There's about 1.1 million barrels a day that can come out of that field. And then they have this other thing called the Orinoco Belt, which is totally not oil as you would recognize it. It really looks like asphalt underground. It's super thick. It doesn't flow. You couldn't get it out of the ground and put it in a pipeline and move it anywhere. And if you can't put oil in a pipeline, you can't really move it. I mean, you couldn't even if you could get it into a tank car, you wouldn't be able to get it out again unless you heated the whole tank car up and tipped it over. It's really difficult stuff. So there's a lot of that. And so in order to get more of that, and by the way, the Orinoco Belt has been producing for a while, but it's in bad disrepair. Under Maduro, a lot of things, really fell apart. And it's going to take maybe $100 billion minimum investment to get that oil field producing again. But the comparable part to that would be maybe the bitumen fields, which is also a very heavy tar-like substance up in Canada. Right? And Canada's, safe, stable country. It's got good laws. There's not undergoing violent revolutions all the time. And up there, it took them probably 15 years to get up to about 4.5 million barrels a day. It's doable, but it took tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars of investment, and it just takes time, and you build these things out slowly. And so what's the chance of taking that huge reserve? The Orinoco Belt's huge. I think it's like 260 billion barrels of technically recoverable reserves. But hundreds of billions is going to have to be invested there. And then it's going to take years to get that to sort of crawl its way up to successively higher rates of production. And that's if and only if the whole place stays stable, right? And that you have enforceable contracts that remain and don't get, socialized or otherwise stolen in some fashion. So it's tricky. It's not impossible. The idea that we're going to be able to replace on the world stage 12 to 15 million missing barrels that are currently missing out of both Russia and the Middle East with Venezuela, it's not realistic, and that's as polite as I can be.
The math doesn't math. You, speaking of the Hormuz, now we've also got the Bab al-Mandab Strait, which you've said no longer open for business. This is going to severely pinch already strained oil markets. What sort of a pinch are we talking here, Chris?
Well, so pre-war, say February 27th, there was an average in all of 2025 of 21 million barrels a day of oil and oil products moving out of the Strait of Hormuz. And then immediately that went to close to zero, and it's been pretty effectively locked down ever since. But there were a couple workarounds here. So Saudi Arabia has an east-west pipeline that goes over to the Yanbu port, bypasses the Strait of Hormuz, and loads up in the Red Sea, and they've been able to get that up to about 4.5 million barrels a day. So we have to deduct that from the 21 that we're missing. Okay, now we're missing, less than that. What's that? 16.5, 17.5. And then also there was another somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million barrels a day coming down through a pipeline that escaped the Strait of Hormuz in Oman. It came out at the port at Fujairah. So that was also able to sneak out a little bit. And then Iraq, for its part, just started loading up trucks with this stuff and driving it north and up and out of the country, going, I think, through Syria into Turkey. So there were these little leakages around that. So the 21 got shut down, but there were some workarounds. The most significant was the Saudi Arabia East-West pipeline loading in the Red Sea. And then the Houthis came out and said, we're going to stop all Saudi-linked tankers. If anybody loaded up, they don't care who it belongs to. If you loaded up there, they were going to stop it, and then they shot 2 Saudi tankers. Or if you have nuclear, that would be great. But for the most part, what we're take their lumps equally and let it all sort itself out. We don't do that. We have capitalism for the poor and socialism for the rich. And I don't know what we would call that, come up with a new name for it, but that's been the model over and over and over. We all want to deal medically, militarily, but I don't think they want to do that. We don't want that to happen. I hope nobody wants that to happen, because China's already won that war, as far as I'm concerned. They have more ships than we have. They have more missiles. They have more manufacturing. They have better logistics. So that's how you win war, logistics and manufacturing, typically. So with all of that said, at some point, though, I think Russia already considers the United States or the West more generally to be non-agreement capable. We're not even negotiation capable. Like, they don't trust anything. Someday.
Anyway. Yeah, with the lack of diesel, oil, all that shit, or prices going up, you might have it, but they can bump. The prices already high, but it's gonna get higher to the point where they say, okay, we're gonna cut everything off, especially with World War III escalate and get more serious, and they're gonna have to ration fuel, and people gonna be freezing their ass off during the winter time. Yep, it's gonna be something interesting. And you want to pray like heaven, Lord, have mercy on you. But let me end this video with this, because I don't want to play no more of this, because damn, I'm like, I don't even know, where's the good shit going to be? You can watch the rest of the video if you want to. I mean, there go the title of it, there go her channel. But anyways, 2nd Ezra chapter. See, I don't even see why she don't have more than, she got 13,000 subscribers. She should have at least 50 or maybe 100 grand. Well, whatever. 2nd Ezra chapter 16 verse 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in them days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death. That's what Ezra's witnessing. A lot of death, sorrow, pain, people starving, and wars too, bloody wars. The beginning of wars, World War III, class wars, civil wars, race wars, going on, going down. Shit, ain't no time to be clowning around. And the power shall stand in fear. The wicked league gonna be hiding out. It's gonna be so bad. The beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils come? Seek the Lord, repent. Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish of sinful scourges for amendment. But for all these things they shall not turn for their wickedness, nor be mindful of their scourges. Don't be like them dumbass Israelites acting like, oh, I don't want to hear all that. Let them do that, and you be the smart one by seeking Yahweh Shema Rashad to your best ability. Don't be like them dummies, because them dummies gonna get killed. Shit, heck yeah. But that's all I gotta say. But seek Yahweh Shema Rashad by seeking his prophets and take heed of what to say and try to build a spiritual mental relationship with Yahweh Shema Rashad by praying Yahweh Shema Rashad, praising Yahweh Shema Rashad, worshiping Yahweh Shema Rashad, fearing Yahweh Shema Rashad, repenting of Yahweh Shema Rashad. To all the men out there pushing the truth and none but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Shema Rashad. Keep on preaching, keep on teaching, keep your faith and trust on Yahweh Shema Rashad, and stay humble. And for you few sisters out there taking heed, keep your faith and trust on Yahweh Shema Rashad. Stay humble, stay in order with your man. If you ain't got no man, stay in order Yahweh Shema Rashad. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, and all praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah. Shalom.